All that I want is a rematch. To be able to fight fair, to fight square, to fight clean. People don't want to see cheating.
I was in Vegas in that gym, like they didn't see me spar. Ain't nobody see me spar in
Even
Vegas.
2 weeks out?
2-3 weeks out. I didn't spar 6 weeks out.
Brother, come on, bro.
All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. A lot of controversy and a lot of talking points coming out from the weekend. And we're also going to talk about Alexander Usyk and Errol Spence Jr. ahead of his fight against Tim Tszyu. But we're going to start with Alex Pereira because Alex Pereira has put in formal inquests and gone on multiple social media platforms to voice his frustrations and disdain for the result coming out of the weekend and Cyril Gane's tactics and Herb Dean's refereeing. Now, there is a lot there to talk about. There's going to be a few clips that you're going to be seeing as we go through here. But let's start with Herb Dean. Now, Herb Dean was apparently approached before the fight by Alex Pereira and his team to talk about how he's going to referee this fight.
E o árbitro estava ali para ver. E antes, né, da luta, um dia antes, teve uma reunião de regras e tal. Eu chamei o Plínio para traduzir para ele e falei, cara, olha só, dedo no olho, chute no saco, isso aí pode acontecer. Não é para acontecer, mas pode acontecer. Agora, cara, esse cara tem um histórico muito, assim, maldoso, entendeu? De dar soco na nuca do cara, cotovelada. Eu vi isso em alguns vídeos, então me preocupei e fui adiantar isso com ele para ele ficar de olho. Ele foi lá, esse árbitro que estava na minha luta, chamou o parceiro dele lá, um outro árbitro, colocou ele lá como modelo, explicou, colocou a mão, falando assim, ó, essa aqui é a nuca, aqui pode bater, aqui tal, aqui não pode, entendeu?
Cyril Gane's back of the head shots day. I was raging watching it. He's gonna kill someone, man.
You know what's funny? In the rules meeting when Pereira was talking to the ref, they were having the translator go over like back of the head because I remember when Gane finished
JDS.
Was it JDS hitting him kind of elbow in the back of the head, but he's kind of turned away. So it's
Is
kind
that
of,
what Pereira was talking about?
yeah, that's why they were talking about back of the head. But did he land a couple back of the headies?
Couple dingers.
Like 12. Dude, he hurt.
Now, we all saw the fight. We all saw Alex Pereira get dropped by a jab, and then the pressure mounted from Cyril Gane with Alex Pereira on the floor holding on to Cyril Gane for dear life, and Cyril Gane throwing about 16 to 18 punches. And, you know, depending on how you see the footage, it depends for everybody. There was probably 3, maybe 2 definite 100% back of the head shots, a lot of misses, and a lot of punches that were actually legal punches on the side of the head. Now, we also have this photo here where Alex Pereira took the next day to voice his frustration, showing the bruises on the back of the head. Couple this up with Herb Dean explaining the day after he sees all the criticism, how they referee the fight.
I could tell by some of the comments online that I owe you guys an explanation about the rules and how I refereed the fight. All respect to both fighters. I'm talking about Gane and Pereira. Amazing fight. The rule we're talking about is the back of the head, and that's confusing because it's different than boxing. And the way we enforce this rule is we focus on the nape of the neck, and that's really what the rule should be called. The nape of the neck or occipital junction also covers the spine, and it covers a line right here with 1-inch variance to either side. So right here. This is what we go over in a rules meeting. I will let them know that this area is a foul, off limits, that this area is a fair blow. Here is a fair blow. Turn to the side so we can see it here. Here is a fair blow. Here is a foul. Hopefully that's useful to you guys and clear things up at all.
So Herb Dean explaining that only punches at the base of the skull to the neck, as well as the middle of the skull, are actually illegal punches. Anything to the side and around the ears are legal. So looking at these photos and you sort of look at the top left one and the bottom left one and saying, well, those punches are legal. They're on the side of the head. In accordance to the rules, those are illegal punches. It's the ones in the top right corner where you can see them straight down the middle that are definitely illegal punches. There's footage of them, and there's clear evidence here that he was struck in the back of the head. So he definitely has a call to arms to say he was struck illegally. Now, to come in and say that that is the sole reason you lost that fight, that Cyril Gane won that fight illegally, I think is a overstatement and an exaggeration. I think Alex Pereira was losing that fight. I think Alex Pereira was going to lose that fight. There's a few things that you got to talk about here. Number one, we know what Cyril Gane is like. Cyril Gane has a tendency and a history to do this. In his very last fight, poke the eyes out of Tom Aspinall. So, of course, they're always going to be wary about what Cyril Gane's doing, and I think they have to be stronger in doing this. I think they should have been stronger when Cyril Gane poked the eyes out of Tom Aspinall. The fact that he gets an immediate shot at another world title, and now there's more footage of him doing illegal stuff. The UFC and the refereeing definitely 100% no doubt need to enforce something against Cyril Gane to stop it. And I have no other opinions on that. You can't be hitting someone in the back of the head. The one thing that I will say in defense to Cyril Gane and this particular incident is Cyril Gane drops Alex Pereira. Cyril Gane throws 16 to 18 punches whilst Alex Pereira is trying to cover up and almost curl up on the floor away from the punches. That's a very hard thing to avoid being punched illegally. And what I mean by that is Cyril Gane is aiming for the side of the head. Alex Pereira is on the floor covering up, rolling all around the place. So, of course, you throwing 18 punches, not every single one of them is going to land exactly where you want, but you still have to be cautious and you still have to be careful where you're throwing those punches, and the referee needs to keep an eye on the action. But that's easy to say when we're sat here watching instant replays over and over again, slowing them down from different angles of the octagon and saying, well, that one there looks like it's sort of the back of the head. Herb Dean's in the heat of the moment having to make sure that Alex Pereira is still conscious and still kicking, what Cyril Gane is doing, and if there's any illegal punches, right? Whilst at the same time trying to preserve the health of Alex Pereira, which in the end he does by stopping the fight before Alex Pereira takes any more damage. So it is a very, very big thing. But what I dislike about this is probably the approach from Alex Pereira. I know Alex Pereira is upset about the result. All right, he's upset about being hit in the back of the head. He wants other fighters to be protected. That all I can back. But I also don't sort of like the excuse making. Because in the same statement as you saying you were illegally punched, you're also saying that Cyril Gane only won this fight because of a lucky jab.
Infelizmente, né, aquela mão entrou, aquele jab, como eu falei, peso pesado, né, cara? Então, soco é mais forte. Mas eu diria assim, jab de sorte ali, entendeu? Golpe de sorte, entendeu? Porque se você joga fechando o olho, abaixando, beleza. Pô, entrou a mão, foi ali onde começou tudo, né? Ele começou mesmo realmente se dar bem, né? Mas jab de sorte ali.
That, for me, sort of sends the message of a bit of a sore loser. You look at that and you look at maybe the way that Ilia Topuria spoke after his defeat. Ilia Topuria posted this after his defeat. Justin, congratulations. You said you'd leave your mark on my face, and you did. You took the sight from my right eye in the first round, and by the second round, my left too. No excuses. I had one of the best camps of my life. I came in sharp, prepared, and ready. Last night was your night. That's the nature of the game. Glory and pain walk side by side. I'll heal, I'll rest, I'll return stronger, wiser, far more dangerous, and trust me, the story is not over. We'll have a rematch. That is somebody that took the loss on the chin and said, let's just move forward. We're going to rematch. We'll go at it again. Now, of course, Ilia Topuria was the champion. He has a call to a rematch. Alex Pereira wasn't the champion, so it's a lot harder to get a rematch without a cause to. So his cause is he only lost that fight because it was illegal. Now, for me, there is definitely illegal punches here, but I don't think that's the reason that Cyril Gane won that fight. And I do think Alex Pereira is using this as a bit of an excuse to cover up a poor performance on the night. Now, Alex Pereira has also stated that he does intend to have a rematch with Cyril Gane. He does continue at heavyweight, whether he gets the rematch with Gane or not. Now, look, there's a few things here. Look, I would like to see Alex Pereira give credit to Cyril Gane for dropping him, whilst at the same time saying, all right, we need to look at the back of the head. That's my biggest problem with the way that Alex Pereira is approaching this. Of course, the UFC and the referee need to now start making a decision in terms of Cyril Gane, because Cyril Gane can't go back-to-back fights here with the biggest talking point being a controversy around him illegally striking an opponent. It just can't happen. You can't go from one fight, that being a no contest because you're poking the eyes out of somebody, and this fight now coming under a lot of, arguments, all right, a lot of controversy because you were punching someone in the back of the head. Whether you meant to, whether you didn't, you still did, and that did happen. And, unfortunately for him, he has a history, which is going to reflect badly when they look into this. So more information to come on that. I do think Alex Pereira needs to be a little bit, a little bit less of a sore loser, because like I said, saying it was a lucky jab and saying you only lost it because of a lucky jab and illegal punches does come across to me as a sore loser. And everybody knows on this channel that I'm a huge, massive fan of Alex Pereira. And everybody knows that I was backing him to win that fight and wanted him to win that fight. So this isn't a hate watch against Alex Pereira. This isn't a love dub to Cyril Gane. I think there's arguments both ways. I think Cyril Gane needs to clean up his act. And I think Alex Pereira also needs to take defeat a little bit better. He says he's going to come back in September and take on Cyril Gane if he gets cleared medically. And look, if Tom Aspinall's not going to fight Cyril Gane in September, then Alex Pereira should be. And that's probably where we should leave it. We're going to move on. We're going to talk about Rico Verhoeven because he has lost his appeal. He filed an appeal on May 24th, and he has recently had it denied by the commission. The commission stating that although the doctor did state that Rico Verhoeven showed no disorientation or confusion following the fight, as well as the fact that the ruling from the referee came after the bell. The commission sees no need to change the outcome of the fight. Rico Verhoeven saying, all right, if the commission aren't going to do it for me, let's have a rematch so I can show that I was robbed of that victory. Now, Rico Verhoeven most definitely has a claim to say he should have continued the 12th round, and I 100% no doubt back that. All right, I think Rico Verhoeven was robbed of the opportunity to continue in the 12th round, but he was not robbed of a victory. Robbed of a victory would be him winning 12 of 12 rounds and then losing a decision. That is robbed of a victory. What happened here was a poor decision by the referee, but also in a fight where Rico Verhoeven was behind going into the 12th round and had just been knocked down by one of the best heavyweights of this generation. But he was robbed of the opportunity to come out for the 12th and change that tie. Do I think he would have? Absolutely not. I think Alexander Usyk goes on and wins that fight, either by knockout or by the decision, because he had accumulated enough points following the open scorecards after the 10th. So for Rico Verhoeven, he needs this is another one of what Alex Pereira is doing. He needs to find a way to get a rematch. He would have got a great payday for this. I do believe that he does deserve something out of that fight, whereas Alex Pereira, I do believe, was defeated. I think Rico Verhoeven was going to be defeated, but that actually hadn't taken place yet. He was about to be defeated, but he wasn't defeated yet. The defeating would have happened in the 12th round or at the decision. And the referee came in a bit premature. So I think Rico Verhoeven does have a call to action. Now, Errol Spence Jr. Errol Spence Jr. is another guy that seems to be making a lot of excuses.
Man, that camp was booked.
The whole camp?
Yeah, bro. Like, I didn't spar probably, 6 weeks?
Yeah, 6 weeks with him.
Yeah, 6, 7 weeks. Like, I didn't, no sparring, it was just a lot of stuff that went wrong in that camp. Even before that, the sparring partners, the guys didn't fit. I ain't had no southpaws in there to spar, none of that. It was all out of whack. But it got to a point to where, you know what I'm saying, I felt like it got to a point too, my body felt like even in the Pacquiao fight, I guess, I don't know if I was, not living up, I was basically living wrong, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Even getting ready for Crawford?
No, I'm saying before the Crawford fight.
Got you.
And you can't get in camp thinking, you know what I'm saying? You're not that young where you get in camp and you thinking everything gonna be, oh, you good now. Nah, you gotta, even out of camp, you gotta live right. So once you get in camp, everything be cool. Just like now, I'm cool now because, you know what I'm saying, I've been living right. I ain't been drinking none of that, still been working out, so.
Now, Errol Spence Jr. is claiming that coming into that fight against Bud Crawford, he had nowhere near the camp and he wasn't living the lifestyle. Now, there's a lot around Errol Spence, especially from the car crash. Going into that Bud Crawford fight, let's just talk about the Bud Crawford fight. He was beaten pillar to post. It was an absolute beatdown, and we haven't seen him since. Now, for Errol Spence to say that he doesn't get sparring partners in camp, the camp was bullshit. Okay, well, sometimes that does happen. To say that he's not living the lifestyle, to say that he was drinking or doing other stuff, well, that's completely on you, and you've got nobody else to blame but yourself for that. That is a decision that you make. Your coach is not feeding you alcohol. At the end of the day, all right? Yeah, your camp was shit. So, when you saw that in 6 weeks' time you have to take on Bud Crawford and you're not happy with the camp, go and make a change. Do something about that fact. 6 weeks is a long time to change things up before a fight. I've seen fighters take fights on 4 to 6 weeks. So if you're 6 weeks out, 7 weeks out, and you're not happy, you change it up. But it seems to me that Errol Spence is making a whole lot of excuses in terms of this fight. He was beaten like he'd never been beaten before, all right? Bud Crawford beat the ever-living daylights out of him. And I think this is a coping mechanism. I think this is a way to make excuses ahead of this fight against Tim Tszyu, saying, everything's going to be different here. Now, in terms of that fight with Tim Tszyu, another thing that Errol Spence did state was, for me, I'm not going to give it all to boxing. It's a fight-by-fight basis. I might be done after this. And he's also, put that sort of statement the same way as he was talking about the Bud fight. He was like, I had a choice to take the Bud fight or not, and I took it. All right, I wasn't feeling myself, but I took the fight for the sole purpose of getting the money to take care of my family and take care of my kids. Now, that's something I don't like when I talk about this Tim Tszyu fight, because if that was his attitude coming into the Bud Crawford fight, that he only took it and he was only there for the money, and now he's coming into this Tim Tszyu fight, long layoff, he's going to get a very good paycheck, by the way. He's getting a very good paycheck to take on Tim Tszyu. Come into this fight against Tim Tszyu, it might be my only one. So let's go fight Tim Tszyu. I get my good paycheck, and then guess what? You're probably not going to see me for another 3 years, which makes me very, very worried and skeptical about the actual performance we're going to see from Errol Spence. Because an Errol Spence that's coming only for a paycheck doesn't seem like a motivated Errol Spence to come in and perform and beat Tim Tszyu. So I do, these quotes are worrying when you talk about how is this fight going to go with Tim Tszyu, because it is a big fight. It is being built up as a big fight. But it's only going to be a big fight if Errol Spence comes in like Errol Spence does in 2019, in 2020. 2026 Errol Spence could be an absolute fucking tomato can, especially if his only motivation is to come and collect a paycheck, fly back to the US and feed his family. And, so there is a lot of worries. I'd like to hear what you guys think of Errol Spence making excuses following the Bud fight. Do you want to see Usyk versus Verhoeven too? I don't personally. And how do you feel about Alex Pereira and those illegal shots from Cyril Gahn? Like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'm out of you guys. See ya.